big NFL news today. It was last night. Look, we talked a lot about how Miami, after last night, they know the Tua Tagovailoa era has to end. They can't go into next season again trying to make it work with Tua when clearly he is a limited quarterback. And again, how many Decembers can you go into and say, well, we're not going to get what we need because the guy can't throw the football in the wind and inclement weather. We need something else. And today, the beginning of that era of without Tua, maybe even closer than expected, because a night after, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel said, hey, listen, not Tua's fault. Everything is fine. Usually, and this is a big thing for coaches, the day after they always say, well, with time to think about it, which means with time to talk to the GM and the owner. This is what Mike McDaniel had to say about Tua and his future after Monday night's loss to the Steelers. He has opened the door to a quarterback change, saying, quote, everything is on the table. Quote, I think the quarterback play last night was not good enough. So everything is on the table. It could be Zach Wilson. It could be Quinn Ewers. It could be Dan Marino. It could be Jay Fiedler. But we could see a quarterback change for the Dolphins for their next game, which would be a short week coming back, which tells you if you make a quarterback change in a short week, this tells you we got to move on from this guy. And the reason you would move on is if you are worried, because Mike McDaniel wants to keep his job next year. And that's why this is even closer to happening than you think it is, because he wants to keep his job. And he's got to keep his job by keeping the team intact and keeping them focused and playing out the last couple of weeks hard. Now, he saved his job a bit by having the big run after being 1-6. Now the playoffs are over for them, but they need to finish strong. He can't lose the locker room. If you are going to change quarterbacks in a short week, it means the locker room is going to revolt if you go back to this guy at quarterback. Maybe the next guy's not good, but I know this guy's not working, and we need to get to that next level and the next iteration of this team.
Well, the other part is that you also have to keep this quarterback healthy, which he has been, and he's been fairly durable. And in last night's game, as we broke it down, there were a number of unconscionable throws, a number of misses, the interception that he threw. As a team, they received, and I think rightly so, a lot of incoming for the lack of urgency early and then suddenly trying to close things out in a frenzied state in their final possessions, the onside kick, calling timeouts, etc. But we also talked about Tua even when he didn't make a throw, i.e. he took some unreasonably poor sacks, right? It's one thing to you miss, the pocket collapses quickly, you've stepped up in anticipation of a play, and you get caught up in someone gets your legs. That's fine. But we saw him rolling out to the left-handed thrower, and instead of putting the ball safely out of harm's way, into the third row, he's absorbing a 6-7 yard sack. You're not a team that lives by the explosive play like you did once upon a time. We've talked about it, and the shift. The defense had been playing better. Obviously, they had a 4-possession skid would be the nice way to say it against the Steelers squad. First time they'd done that since 2018. But overall, they'd played pretty well, and you'd move to where Achane was option A, B, and C. He got lessened a bit yesterday, which, again, McDaniels should have taken some more questions about that. But Tua didn't help things by taking the unreasonable sacks and putting them behind the markers and putting them into more disadvantageous situations to where his arm isn't cutting through the wind at 15 to 20 miles an hour. That ain't happening. We had the discussion about game time temperatures or whatever else. But what we do know is he puts the ball in harm's way consistently with narrowly above a 1-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions.
So going forward now, with this being the end, right, I have two solutions. I have a trade that works for everyone.
Oh, boy.
Okay, we talked about, hey, where could he go? I got a trade that works for everyone, and I have one solution that maybe people haven't thought about, okay? Let's do the solution people haven't thought about before we get to the trade, okay? He's got a bad contract. We know this, right? But bad contracts doesn't mean he's untradeable. It just means it makes it really, really difficult. The next couple of years, the money he is due, it is insane. So when you think about where it's going, if you're going to bench Tua, he's not coming back to start for you. There may be this situation where Tua Tagovailoa is Kirk Cousins for next year, in which The Dolphins have nothing. He's got to come back, but the Dolphins' next quarterback is whoever they get in the draft or somebody they go in on in free agency, somebody who's a bridge starter, whatever it's going to be. But the potential is out there because we saw it this year. It hasn't worked at all in Atlanta because Atlanta hasn't won, but maybe mainly because Michael Penix wasn't very good. But Cousins playing well the last couple of weeks. If he finishes strong, well, then, hey, guess what? Cousins is going to get a deal someplace else next year. Someone will fork over money. It's only 2 years left on his deal now. We talked about this last week. He has played himself into being a bridge quarterback and getting a starting job next year.
Or Penix coming back with another huge injury.
Right.
Kirk Cousins may stay right where he is and be your quarterback.
So the possibility exists that he could be Kirk Cousins next year where the money's not working, the trade is not, he wants to keep all his cash. He's not going to say no. And so it winds up that Tua's on the team, but it's somebody else is coming in, whether it's in the first round of the draft or, like I said, free agency, something else. Somebody else is coming in to take this job. So that is definitively an option, especially since we've seen the Falcons do it this year. And while it hasn't worked, it hasn't ripped the team apart, right? It's not like you're hearing stuff where everybody is on the side of Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins is making noise and Kirk Cousins has always been a pretty good pro. And we would have heard a lot more stories about how bad this was this year if it was bad. So clearly it was okay. Mainly they probably need a new head coach in Atlanta because Raheem Morris, with all that talent offensively, it's not working. But mainly Michael Penix Jr. has not been great. So, but the off the field stuff didn't rip the team apart. We thought that was going to happen. So I think a lot of teams are looking at that. Miami's going to look at this and say, hey, you know what? If it comes to it, we can still move on next year. And maybe Quinn Ewers starts the last couple of games. He's really good. He's named the starter for next year, and Tua's the backup. Tua's a pretty good pro. I think Tua handles this pretty well. He's always handled himself pretty well publicly. He kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson light a little bit, the way he approaches things.
Well, because that's part of the equation as well, right? Is that you Russell Wilson him and just say, hey, it's a poison pill we have to swallow, but we eat all that money against the cap, right? We just have the huge dead cap charge. To your point about Ewers or Wilson or some combination thereof, you do have Cincinnati. I mean, Joe Burrow quit this last week. I don't know if you saw that. And then Week 17's against Tampa. Their pass D stinks.
Yeah.
So you've got an opportunity, either of those quarterbacks, to at least put up a little bit of an effort and a show for folks, and from Mike McDaniel to show that he can work with another quarterback for sure. And then you have the season finale against New England that might not be playing for anything at that point.
So if that happens, okay, all right, we see.
Sure.
But now here's a trade that works for everybody, okay? Taking everything into account. Here's a quarterback with a bad contract. Somebody else would need to take on this bad contract, but they would trade a bad contract of their own. Both these guys need fresh starts. Tua and this other quarterback need fresh starts. I don't know anybody who says no to this because while the team trading their quarterback is trading someone who is a little bit higher value and has seen a little bit more of a solution, his contract is a little bit longer, right? Tua, the big deal for his contract is the next couple of years. This contract goes through 2028, so there's a little bit of bend but don't break. Now, if he was part of the solution, he would stay, but both guys need a fresh start. It's not like you have to worry about the money because you're still spending money, but it's different, right? You're getting a different – maybe Tua can work in a different offense. Maybe this guy can work in Miami's offense. I think Miami would be excited to have him in. I think if you are this team, you are excited to get Tua to come in. Doesn't mean you can't go out and get a different quarterback as well, but you have seen that, okay, it's not working with this guy. We'll get out of his contract a year earlier than this, which means we're not postponing the future as much. Tua Tagovailoa to the Cardinals for Kyler Murray works for everyone. Works for everyone.
You know who it doesn't work for?
What?
Me.
Why does it work for you?
Because Jacoby Brissett is under contract for next year.
Okay.
He signed a 2-year, $12 million deal.
Sure.
And Kyler Murray being gone is part of the equation.
Yeah.
But if I can have my quarterback, because Jacoby Brissett's played really well, right?
Yeah,
He has been good.
Sure.
That's a lot of money you can spend on other pieces to make this team better.
Yeah.
Bringing Tua in doesn't help me. He's no better than Kyler Murray is.
But here's the thing is you're getting out of Kyler Murray's deal a little bit earlier, and you are able to move on from it. Well, because that's the
but I'm bringing in another contract that I don't want.
But you have to.
But I don't want Tua's contract.
I know. No, well, listen.
But if I'm the Cardinals,
but maybe,
I could get rid of Kyler. The Jets will take it.
But if you're the Cardinals, okay, yes, Jacoby Brissett's playing really well this year, but is he all of a sudden a great quarterback? Or if you go into next year with Tua and Jacoby Brissett, they battle it out and can't. However you want to do it, it's a new team for Tua. He's got to earn his spot. You feel a lot better about the quarterback room than we're really going to hand it over to Kyler Murray, and he's going to be the same guy, and he's going to get the same kind of production. So you understand that, to lose that salary, you got to take salary back. But because you're giving away the, quote, more talented player, you're going to get out from under that contract a little bit earlier if Tua doesn't work out. Look, it's exchanging problems for problems, and I'm always a big fan of, well, if this problem's not working for me and that problem's not working for you, let's change problems. Because maybe it'll work for both of us. Maybe it works for me and not you. Maybe it works for you and not me. But that's a way to solve this problem.
I mean, on the plus side, he would be playing in Arizona, so all of that 40 degrees nonsense would be thrown out the window. So we can have proof of concept once and for all that it's not just the cold as to the reason that he stinks.
So that trade works for everybody.
Yeah,
it works for everyone.
Yeah, I've seen
Tua
6
for
years
Kyler
of
Murray.
Tua. I'd rather have diminish Kyler Murray.
You can't just. But yeah, if you could just do an I Dream of Jeannie where you cross your arms and blink your eyes and go blink and they disappear. Okay, but you can't do that.
No,
I wish you could do that.
Give me someone else at a different position. Bringing in another problem or potential problem at quarterback when I got a guy making nothing. I'll go draft my guy towards 27th and let him in the room.
Jason, how about the trades cancel each other and they both go away?
I say if you can find a way to make that happen, I think both teams
they cancel
would say,
out, just like a flag on each team.
Okay, all right. So then, sorry, we're trading you out, and
so now
and
we're
both
balancing equations, and we're getting rid of variables.
Yeah. Kyler Murray is next franchise quarterback for the Argonauts.
Y equals 4.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
like
exactly.
That. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. We're able to cancel out your contract and get rid of you.